It is the Jets' bye week, and without a game preview to record, I decided to simulate the rest of the regular season. Where did the Jets finish? Let's talk about it. Well. Welcome back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Wat2K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. So being that the Jets are on a bye week, gives us a chance to kind of stop, take stock of where the team is, where it is going forward. Now, typically with the Jets around mid-November, the website that we are most used to frequenting is tankathon.com because we want to figure out where the Jets are in their race for a draft spot, what picks they might have, what is their draft strength ranking compared to other teams, who are some of the top prospects they might be able to get in the draft. Well, no need for that this year. Oh, no. Nope, the only reason we would ever have to go on takeathon.com if we really wanted to do it is to check the remaining strength of schedule and figure out who has the hardest one and who has the easiest one. So we're not going to do that. So what I did instead today is I went to this website. I'm going to put a link in the description called next.playoffpredictors.com. What it allows you to do is simulate the entire regular season. You can pick the winners for every game the rest of the way. It updates the standings for you in real time, and you can see how your team finishes overall 1 through 16 in the respective conference. So I made my predictions for the rest of the season. Now, you could plug scores in if you wanted to. I didn't do that for right now. I just plugged in who I felt would win each game. And these were the results that I had. So let's go through the Jets schedule first. So against New England, after they come off the bye week, heading to Foxborough, I have them exercising the demon. I've got them winning that game. Then they have an NFC game at home against the Chicago Bears, who I will point out again, the Jets have not beaten the Bears since the year 2000. 22 years since the Jets were able to take the Bears down. Well, I say they're going to do it this year. That's right. I'm going to say the win streak continues to 3 games. It is Zach Wilson who has a Fields day, not Justin. So I say the Jets win and raise their record to 8-3. Then they go out to Minnesota, to US Bank Stadium. I think that's a tough matchup for the Jets. Not getting into all the details on every single game because we have a lot to get through, but I'm going to say Minnesota takes that game and drops the Jets in the standings. Then comes a very tough spot at Buffalo. Now, we know the Jets can compete with the Bills. They proved it, but this is a revenge game that the Bills are going to have in mind. It's going to be very difficult for the Jets to win that particular game. So I'm going to say they take the loss there, dropping them to 8-5 for the season. Okay, but then the Jets have 2 home games in a row that they really should win. You've got the Detroit Lions at home who have a good offense, but a terrible defense. I'm sorry. I don't want to hear about they've only allowed 21 points the last 3 games. You know, by the way, the Lions-Packers game that just happened, the Packers got to midfield, past midfield every drive, and they still could barely score points. Detroit's defense is bad. I'm sorry. And then you have a short week, Jets and Jaguars on a Thursday night before Christmas, national TV, well, if you stream Amazon Prime, in the all-black uniforms. I'm going to say the Jets beat the Jaguars that game, and that takes them to 10-5 with 2 games left to go. Now, this game at Seattle, early on in the season, I was feeling pretty good about that game, but you know what? Seattle, this is not going to be an easy game to win. Pete Carroll's got that team playing well. Geno Smith is probably going to win Comeback Player of the Year. Kenneth Walker is an excellent running back. You got 2 very good wide receivers in Metcalf and Lockett. But I'm going to say the Jets can match up well against them. I'm going to say the Jets pull off I don't know if it's going to be an upset, but I'm going to say they beat Seattle at Lumen Field, and they take their record to 11-5, setting up a last game of the season in Miami, a game that I think could actually be flexed to prime time. I think it could actually happen. So Jets at Dolphins, I will say this. That Seattle game will clinch the Jets a playoff spot. I think they get tripped up in Miami in this last game. I'm going to say they lose this game to Miami, dropping them to 11-6. So what that would do is it would give the Jets a 7-5 AFC conference record. However, I've got Miami with an 8-4 conference record. So if that's the case, Miami would leapfrog the Jets in the wild card standings and take the 5 seed. So my top 7 teams, here's how I have the AFC playing out. I've got Kansas City at the 1 seed, Buffalo at the 2, Baltimore at the 3, Tennessee at the 4. Then with the wild card, I've got Miami and the Jets tied with the same 11-6 record, but that conference record is going to be the difference. Miami gets the 5 and travels to Tennessee, and I've got the Jets finishing 6th in the conference and traveling to A&T Bank Stadium to take on the Baltimore Ravens in a rematch of Week 1. And for the 7th spot, well, I've got 2 teams tied there. I've got the Cincinnati Bengals and the New England Patriots tied at 9-8. But because of the head-to-head, I am predicting the Cincinnati Bengals get that last playoff spot and will travel to Buffalo, and the New England Belichicks are going home for the winter. So that's what I'm predicting as far as the AFC goes. And I'll touch on 2 other things here. The NFC standings, I've got Philadelphia as the number 1 overall seed, the NFC East winners. Then I've got at number 2, San Francisco, winners of the West. Minnesota, the number 3 seed, winners of the NFC North. I've got Tampa Bay clinching the 4 spot. I mean, Minnesota and Tampa Bay I think are absolute gimmies as far as their divisions go, but I've got them as the 3 and the 4. And then at your 3 wild cards, I've got the Dallas Cowboys at 5, the New York Giants at 6, the Seattle Seahawks at 7. So that would set up some very juicy playoff games. You've got Seattle going to San Francisco, the Giants heading up to Minnesota, and you know that Dallas and Tampa Bay game, that's going to be a primetime game. There's just no doubt about that. Brady against America's team. We know how that's going to play out, right? And then as far as the number 1 overall draft standings go, I'm going to go 3-1. I've got the Houston Texans at number 3, finishing 4-12-1. I've got the Indianapolis Colts, who I think are just going to stink the rest of the way, at 3-13-1. I don't even have them winning another game this year. I'm sure they'll win one, but I'm just not predicting it. And then with the number 1 overall seed, it's going to be the Carolina Panthers at 3-14, bring in another quarterback for whoever the new head coach is going to be. So those are my predictions for the rest of the regular season. Tell me what you think. I've got the Jets at 6. Where do you have them finishing? Do you have the Jets winning the division? Do you have them clinching a wild card spot? Do you have them out of the playoffs? I'd love to know what you think. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair.